You win the race, you cross the finish line. It's that initial shock that hits you that you just won the Olympics. And then you're celebrating, you're jumping up and down with your team and with your coaches. They hang a gold medal around your neck and they announce for the first time ever your name, Olympic champion. So of course I wanted to do it again. My name is Connor Fields, and I am an Olympic gold medalist in the sport of BMX racing. I moved to Vegas when I was 4, so really I don't remember anything else. I loved growing up in Vegas. When I was 7 years old, I liked riding my bike. I was constantly popping wheelies and jumping off curbs. And my mom took me and my bike to the bike shop one day because I had a flat tire. And at the bike shop, she found a flyer advertising the local BMX racing track. If my mom hadn't found the flyer for the BMX track that day, I might never have discovered BMX racing. So I started when I was 7 years old, and the first step was racing at the state level. From there, I progressed to the regional level by about the age of 10. And by the age of 11 or 12, I was racing on the national series all around the country. Did so much better than myself or anybody else really expected. Growing up, BMX racing was not in the Olympics. In 2005, when I was 12 years old, the International Olympic Committee voted to include BMX racing into the Olympic Games. When I was 15, I watched the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, China, and I watched Team USA win a couple of medals, and I decided that this is what I wanted to do. And so at 15, that was when I really started to take things seriously. Things started coming pretty quickly, and I decided to turn professional at 16. That was 2009. Obviously, there were some sacrifices that I had to make. I didn't get to go to all the football games on Friday nights. I didn't get to go to all the high school parties. I didn't get to have a normal childhood, but instead I was in France my senior year competing for Team USA. And I started to win races, major international races. And before I knew it, I blinked and I was 19 years old and I was getting ready to represent Team USA at the London Olympic Games. I was so inexperienced. I had only been professional for a couple of years. I had never raced a lot of these major international events that I was racing in the lead up to London. I was a year graduated from high school. As a young athlete, I really viewed it in an immature way where it was, I'm there to win. I'm not there to compete. I'm not there to enjoy representing Team USA. I'm not focused on the process. I'm only thinking about the outcome. And I won every single one of my heat races, my semifinals, and I was the #1 seed in the finals at the London 2012 Olympics. And I completely blew it. And that was devastating, you know, and when you're that age, you don't really understand that life will go on and things like that. And I had to wait 4 years to maybe have another chance. And that was very hard. I went through depression. It took a lot out of me, but it was a lesson that I ultimately had to learn. As we got into the 2016 Olympic year, I was doing really well at a lot of events. I had won the national championships. I was getting podiums at World Cups. Everything was on track for me to not only make the team, but go into the Olympics as one of the favorites. And during a training accident in April, I shattered my wrist. I ended up having a 5-hour surgery, getting a bone graft, 5 screws, multiple plates. It was a whole mess. I only made the team on a discretionary nomination. And I barely even made it to the starting line in Rio. My wrist was still technically broken. The doctor couldn't legally clear me. If it had been any other event other than the Olympics, I would never have raced with a broken wrist. But being that it was the Olympics and that it only comes around once every 4 years, I was legitimately willing to break my wrist again to try. That's how bad I wanted this goal. I dedicated my entire life to this goal. I had made so many sacrifices to get to this point to have a chance that nothing was gonna stop me from at least trying. And I learned the hard way in London where I won everything leading up to that final and I didn't win the final, that none of the other stuff matters. So my entire mindset going into the Olympics in Rio was do what you gotta do to make it to the final and then make that final count. I was not the #1 seed this time like I was in London, but in that final, I had the best race of my life. I executed to 100% of my abilities, which was my goal. I rounded the first corner in second place behind my teammate, the fellow American. I just went for it and I was able to advance past my teammate. I do remember as I rounded the final corner kind of realizing that I was winning. And I had this brief moment of, shock, and then I had to remind myself, it's not over yet, focus, get back into it. You win the race, you cross the finish line, and it's that initial shock that hits you that you just won the Olympics. And then you're celebrating, you're jumping up and down with your team and with your coaches. It's excitement, it's relief, it's pride, it's thankfulness, all of these at the same time. A few minutes later, you go to the podium and they hang a gold medal around your neck while they raise the US flag and they play the national anthem. And they announce for the first time ever your name, Olympic champion. And I live in Las Vegas, at 23 years old, win the Olympics, not a bad place to go home to. You have that high, that feeling of winning the Olympics, and you know what it feels like. There's nothing in this world that is gonna compare to that. So of course I wanted to do it again. So I just continued, try to win the race in front of me, try to win the next race. So as we get into 2020, I'm winning races, I'm in great shape, everything's on track, and then COVID hit.
We're all aware of the gravity of the COVID-19 crisis around the world and right here in Nevada.
For the first time in the history of the Olympics is postponed. So there's not really a playbook of how you deal with this. And throughout the entire year of 2020, I think everybody was kind of wondering, are the Olympics actually going to happen next year? So mentally, it was an exhausting challenge to train for an event that you weren't 100% sure was even going to happen. But as we got into 2021 and we learned the Olympics were going to move forward, training camp went as well as it possibly could have, and I was in the best shape of my life as I boarded that flight for Tokyo. I remember telling people in the media, I've had a good Olympics, I've had a bad Olympics, I've had a pre-Olympic injury. There's nothing I haven't seen before. But as we went into it, I knew what I needed to do to be successful. I crushed it on quarterfinals day. I won my quarterfinal almost with ease, and I entered the second day as the #1 seed and on pace to have a shot to repeat as Olympic champion. On day number 2, there was a rain delay. I asked one of the coaches if we were on schedule or what was going on, and the next thing that I remember was waking up in a hospital bed. My phone was next to me, and I turned it on, and I saw that the date was 5 days later, and that I had hundreds of messages and missed calls. And so I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I open up my phone, and immediately I start seeing videos of the accident, slowly kind of piecing everything together. The crash happened in the last of the semifinal rounds. It was 15 minutes before the gold medal race. I collided with a French rider, and I went down very hard, face first. I had 4 brain bleeds. I had injury to my frontal lobe, my parietal lobe, my corpus callosum, and my brain stem. I collapsed a lung, broke ribs, tore my bicep and shoulder ligaments. I had to be intubated on the track, and I was in a coma for a few days. The fact that I'm standing here today with a fully functioning brain is a miracle. You Google Connor Fields, the first thing that comes up is my crash. It's not that I won the Olympics. It's not that I was the most successful American BMX racer in history. It is that I'm the guy who nearly died at the Olympics. But instead of getting mad about that, I just think about the fact that I'm here and that I can remember all the other races that I did. And it's kind of easy to move past that. A lot of people think that I'm crazy and that high-level athletes are crazy because immediately the first thing I started thinking of was, all right, only 3 years till the next one. There's been a delay. Got to get it back. And that was just the competitor in me didn't want to go out that way. So I went through all the rehabilitation, shoulder reconstruction, about a year's worth of rehab, and I immediately rode again, just to see how I felt. And I actually felt pretty good. And physically, I was young enough to make one more run, and I really had to wrestle with the fact of, do I want to go out that way? Do I want 22 years of my career and the last thing to be a race that I don't even remember when I was so close to having a chance to repeat as Olympic champion? I decided that I had beat the odds once and I didn't want to even risk it again. And I didn't want to run the risk of hitting my head again. And there's so much more to life outside of BMX racing. and I decided to walk away. I've been a BMXer since I was a kid, and so I'm still active in the BMX world in a ton of different ways. I teach and coach everything from first-time riders all the way to a couple of Olympic hopefuls that are trying to train and compete at the next Olympics. I've spent my whole life at a BMX track, and it's my favorite sport. It's what I know, and I don't think I'll ever be 100% gone from it. So I did some work with the PBS when I was competing, and they did some stories on me in the lead up to some of the Olympics. When the opportunity came to be the new host for Outdoor Nevada, I jumped on it. What an amazing show. I love the outdoors. I love mountain biking and fishing and hiking and being active, and I love Nevada. I'm from here. Realizing how much natural beauty is in this state. Obviously, we're in the southern part of the state here in Vegas, and it's a desert, but you get up north and there is some incredible scenery. I also got to see the town of Jarbidge, which is known as the most remote town in the lower 48. I've watched Vegas go from under 1 million people now to over 2. It's been awesome just to watch the city grow and get its own soul, which is really special. And I always loved that. Anywhere I would go around the world, people would ask me where I was from, and I would say Las Vegas, and their eyes would light up, and everybody knew what I was talking about. If you could compete at the Olympics in any sport, what sport would that be? Drop a comment below and let us know.
We're the producers of Vegas All In. We're a nonprofit organization here at Vegas PBS. Like and subscribe to support programming like this. Hit that like button.